If you're planning a trip this summer, you may want to take a minute to think about your health before you hop on that plane, especially if you're traveling outside the U.S. After all, no one wants to spend their trip holed up in a hospital or the hotel bathroom. So joining us today with a complete guide on how to stay healthy and safe when traveling is Women's Health Senior Health Editor, Sasha DeGersdorf. Hi, Sasha. Great to see you again.
Good to see you.
So it is true. Nobody wants to go away and get sick on their vacation. So
very true.
You're going to walk us through the pre-vacation checklist to keep us healthy, right?
I am, yes. All right. So the first thing you want to do before you go is scout your location. Now, I know you're thinking, I'm already scouting my location, I'm planning a trip, but specifically you want to look out for any possible health hazards in that area. And the best thing to do is go to the CDC website and look for any vaccines you might need to get before going. So while you're doing that, you want to make sure you give yourself enough lead time. So we're talking up to 4 to 6 weeks before your trip, because a lot of vaccines take a long time to take effect. So as you're buying your plane tickets, as you're booking your hotel rooms, you should also be looking into vaccines.
Now, is this mostly for trips abroad, or are there vaccines even domestically we could use?
Mostly we're talking about international trips, abroad trips. So there's 3 types of vaccines really that you want to look out for. There's the routine ones, and those are things that you probably already are vaccinated against: measles, mumps, rubella, things that most kids get. So you want to make sure those are up to date. So just go to your doctor.
Because a lot of adults might need boosters.
That's true. Yes. So tetanus shots, for instance, run out every so many years. So you want to make sure that you're up to date, and that again should be done at least 6 weeks before your trip. Then you want to look at recommended vaccines. Now again, this is all on the CDC website, and these are things that you're going to want to get for certain areas of the world. Things like hepatitis A or typhoid that can be prevalent in hot, sort of muggy climates.
Right.
And so you want to go get vaccines for those, either in pill or shot form. Again, they take a while to take effect, so go early. And then finally, there are a few required vaccines that you need to get, such as yellow fever for certain countries that won't let you in unless you have proof that you have the shot.
I remember I went on my honeymoon to South Africa and there were a couple of vaccines that I needed to get.
Yeah. So you really want to be sure. I mean, nothing ruins a trip like getting to the airport and not being able to leave because you haven't been vaccinated. So it's really simple. It takes an hour out of your day. Just make sure that you're working far ahead in advance.
Now, what about malaria? Is that something we should be on the lookout for?
Yes, for certain countries, yes, absolutely. Again, we're talking about climates that are extremely hot and damp, and where mosquitoes are rampant. So malaria is very easy to get anti-malaria pills for. Again, you're going to need to take them for a couple days before your trip and a couple days after as well. So you want to stick with them, and you also want to make sure, again, that you go to your doctor way in advance to get that prescription, so you don't have to all of a sudden cancel or freak out on your trip.
Absolutely. And now, what if we are planning a cruise? Are there special precautions you need to take if you're going on a cruise? I mean, they can be hotbeds for germ spreading.
Exactly. You got everyone all in one place there, sailing around in this contained unit. So the best thing to do for that is to check the cruise ship's score. Again, you want to go to the CDC website, and they rate each ship pretty much that sails around the world. So you want to check and make sure, have there been any outbreaks? Has anything been reported? Either cleanliness wise or illness wise, and they'll have that all on there. So spend some time looking around before you choose your ship.
And then do you recommend stocking up on medications before your departure, or there'll be plenty of medications on the ship?
Well, I would say in general, and not even just for cruising, you want to stock up, because depending on where you're going, you may not speak the language. Things may be a little bit harder to find, and if you need something in a pinch, it's better to have it with you. So certainly if you're taking any prescription medications ongoing, you want to have enough of those. Maybe bring a little bit extra in case you get delayed or have a travel problem. Now, a lot of people love to kind of put them all in one container to save space, but we actually say that's not the best idea. You want to keep them in their original container with their original label, and that way you won't really get held up in security or customs if anything becomes a little bit suspicious looking.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, do you ever get stopped for carrying too many over-the-counter or prescription drugs?
It could look a little sketchy if you kind of have your big bag of them. So you want to make sure that you do have the original labels, prescriptions on there. And then if you're a diabetic, or if you have any medicine that's in liquid form, that's especially important. You might even want to carry a note from your doctor that says, says, you know, this is legit, you need to be able to take this through security and on the plane, and usually it's no problem.
Good idea. But so in general, sort of personal use, over-the-counter prescription drugs, or or over-the-counter drugs, that's fine, no problem getting through security with those in general.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I would say so.
All right. Now, what do people need to know in case of an emergency abroad? It can be tricky if you don't speak the language, you don't know where to go.
Very tricky, yeah, absolutely. So there's a couple things you can do. The first is, before you leave, you might want to call your health insurance or your car insurance to see if they'll cover you out of the country. Some will, some won't, and if they don't, there is an option. You can buy traveler's medical insurance, and that will cover you for the duration of your trip, and depending on where you're going, it might be a really good idea just to get that. It's not that expensive, and of course, if you end up in the hospital, you know, on the other side of the world, it can really be a lifesaver, but also a big money saver.
Absolutely, because generally your health insurance won't cover you abroad, or will it?
It really depends on your plan, but I would say probably, again, depending on your going, you can't really count on it.
Absolutely.
So you want to check first.
Okay. Now let's talk a little bit about foodborne illnesses, because we've all been there. You know, we're in the exotic country having a great time, and all of a sudden we can't get out of the bathroom.
Yeah, it's no way to spend your trip.
No way to spend your trip. So how do you prevent that from happening?
So there's a couple things you can do. Now again, this is these are guidelines, because when you're traveling to a new country or someplace you love to experience the whole culture and eat the food and really take part in the society. So you don't want to just, you know, not eat anything that looks exotic.
Just eat rice.
Yeah,
Who wants to do that?
You want to experiment a little, but not too much. So, you know, some guidelines are: make sure most of the food you eat is cooked and hot when it's served. If you're going to have fruits and vegetables, it's best to be able to peel them yourselves so that you're the only one who's really touched them. Just like at home, you want to make sure you wash your hands before every meal. If you're going to be wanting some water, which you should, especially again in a hot climate, make sure that you get bottled water that's sealed. So the bottle should be sealed. And in the same vein, don't get ice in your drinks, because that will usually just be frozen tap water that can hide some bacteria.
So stay away from tossed salads and things like that?
And you can stay away from tossed salads, especially if you're not in a very reputable, clean restaurant, just because a lot of, you know, that has some bacteria, could have some potential bacteria, and again, a lot of people touching everything in it.
And now quickly, we don't have a lot of time, but how to avoid the dreaded bed bugs?
Yes, definitely want to avoid these. You know, a lot of these come from hotels, so when you go into the hotel, just do a quick check of the mattress, especially the seams around the mattress, the headboard, and try not to put your clothes in the drawers. Try to keep them in your suitcase, on the luggage rack, moved away from the wall.
And if you suspect you've gotten contaminated, wrap everything in a plastic bag.
Everything in plastic, absolutely.
All right,
and
Sasha, thank you so much for all these very important travel tips. And for more tips on being safe while you travel this summer, check out the latest issue of Women's Health magazine.